From the second year of my MBA in 96, 97, I was absolutely certain that I want to become an advertising professional. I think the biggest change that I've seen is 18% of the sales of the total retail happens from e-commerce
now
these days, and it's only going to grow.
What is the process for you to design a whole media plan for a client?
6 years before, the share of print and television was 80% of the total advertising spend. Digital was around 8%.
Okay.
And the remaining 12% was your radio and cinema and outdoor. The shift in the percentage as of today, I mean, will shock you. % digital. Whatever post that you have created for Insta, put it on LinkedIn. And I said, no.
What do you focus on, retailer or to work on probably a big brand but on a project basis?
Media is a volume game. Right? And we have that volume with us, and that is my bread and butter. But this entire relationship can break with one. It's like they keep a dog and bark themselves.
अगर एक ब्रांड देख रहा है इस समय, what would you say? Why you need an agency for yourself? इसका आप क्या आंसर दोगे?
See, a creative brain can never be a one brand kind of a company. 6 months later, those guys again called me, Amit, can you be on board? I said, what happened to your team?
Story of an agency.
I asked my client servicing team, what is the feedback from the client? I scratch my head as to what's maja nahi. What do I do?
Data is important or your instinct is important? What is your strategy?
US advertising market, 30 to 40% of their spend goes into that. Campaign is in the 3rd year of running, and we communicate the same thing year on year on year.
Wow. And that works. Do you think traditional medium is dying or is it going to stay? Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Welcome to Level Up with Anona. Super excited to host you. I mean, आपके साथ I've been seeing your work because जो advertising media industry, this has been my industry since last 10 years and Marshmallow has always been there. मतलब जब भी किसी client से बात करो, so you have always been there in the terms of creativity, in terms of brand strategy. So I'm very excited. इस topic पे आज हम थोड़ा detail में बात करते हैं because
Sure.
मेरे को ऐसा पर्सनली लगता है सर कि ये बहुत ही ऐसे कॉन्स्टेंटली इवॉल्विंग हो रही है, लाइक पीपल आर मूविंग एंड शिफ्टिंग लाइक अ स्विच. तो बहुत चीजें जो बहुत नए ट्रेंड्स आए हैं या क्या चेंज हो रहा है, व्हाट क्लाइंट वांट्स, लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स आई वांट टू डिस्कस. एंड एक पर्सपेक्टिव मेरे को ये भी ऐड करना है कि बहुत सारे लोगों का ये sort of sapna side sort होता है कि I want to start my own creative agency.
Okay.
You want that sort. So
right.
If somebody wants that also, तो वे कुछ सीख पाए.
Sure.
So that's the idea. But how are you?
Oh, all good. I mean, it's like, as you know, it's a sultry kind of a day today.
Yeah.
So all good. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you can shoot questions, whatever
Super.
you have.
Done. So let's start from your journey. थोड़ा सा आपके बारे में जानते हैं because it's been 25 years, right? For you.
More than that.
More than
27.
That. 27 now.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing. Yeah. So let's start from that only. कि आपने कैसे plan किया कि you want to be here in this advertising agency and what was that first pitch and first brand of yours?
I'll say it was not the first pitch or brand. I'll say it was more of love at first sight.
Okay.
From the second year of my MBA. So that is where I developed interest in advertising. And apart from the books which were recommended for the courses, I read almost all the books in my library on advertising. And I was so much into it. I mean, you'll not believe me that I used to take classes on advertising for my second year batchmates.
Oh, wow.
I used to take classes. So that was the focus. And since that point of time, I think 96, 97, I was absolutely clear. I was absolutely certain that I want to, become an advertising professional. Of course, I never knew that I will also become an advertising businessman. But from that time onwards, I was absolutely clear.
But वो जो हर इंसान को अपना वो पहला ब्रांड याद रहता है ना. So do you have any?
Yes, I guess I'll tell you. Once I finished my MBA, I had 3 jobs with me. One was in Reliance Surat, which was paying me handsomely. Then second one was with Precap Gray. That point of time was a big agency, a national agency in Ahmedabad. And third job was with Clear Advertising. Now, Clear Advertising, not an advertising agency that a lot of people would know, but it was quite big in the financial sector, in the
Okay.
IPO sector and
Okay.
all. So as such, being a young person, I had this dream of going to Bombay. And for me, advertising was equal to Bombay.
So true,
So
so true.
I went to Clear, and my first job was a brochure that we made for Parag Parikh Financial Advisory Services,
Wow.
PPFAS.
Yeah, yeah,
Now,
yeah.
if you know PPFAS, it is doing extremely good in mutual funds
Mutual
right
funds.
now.
Yeah,
So
I've
it's
invested.
it's doing awesomely well. So I did that brochure. I will not say I did it, but it was a team, and
Madam, you did the whole creative part of it?
no, I was like a junior client servicing executive,
Ah.
coordinating the smaller
Yeah,
things and
yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah,
But that was the lesson of my life, that how a brochure is created, right from the briefing, and the briefing then being converted into index of the brochure, from the index of the brochure to the theme, to the copy, and finally the design. Once the design is done, then it goes for the printing.
yeah.
I went to the printing house as well to actually understand how printing happens. And I delivered those brochures in a Kalipili taxi
Yeah.
to the client's office, and
Huh.
that was like the proudest moment for me,
Wow.
getting that sign on the delivery challan, that okay, I've delivered 1,000 brochures. So
Wow.
I think that is something which will remain with me for rest of my life.
Wow. And that's why I asked you specifically because ऐसी stories सुनने में it's always inspiring,
Yeah.
and very motivating also. I mean, but आपने जैसे बात करी 97 you are saying.
97,
Wow, so
yes.
that's like good 27 years that we're
Yeah.
talking. तो
Yeah.
आपको तब का और अब में like how has advertising evolved? What
Oh
would you
my
say on
God. I
that?
mean,
That's
sit.
a long question.
I mean, I can talk about it hours together,
I know.
right, on this. Things have changed. I mean, when we were young, we all know there used to be Doordarshan and maybe a couple of newspapers and all. And those were the only mediums from where we could consume the information, right? And from those days, I mean, the Doordarshan days, where it was a one-way traffic. I mean, I would call it as a monologue, right? There was no feedback, there was no nothing. I mean, just a one way traffic. Then came the age of a dialogue where, people started getting feedback from the
Yeah,
customers, from the consumers, and
right.
there was like communication between the brand and the customers and all. Then, I guess 10 years before, or maybe just 5 years before, was the age of multilog, right?
Okay.
Now, multilog is, there is a brand, and there are n number of people, communicating with the brand,
Okay.
right?
Got it.
Simultaneously, real time,
Got it.
right?
Like
So
a group live, group discussion sorts, you're saying.
anything, I mean, it can be a cluster, it can be an individual. I mean, the things, have changed in terms of branding on a real time
Makes sense.
basis, right? Everything is real time. I mean, on a real time, somebody can make your brand, somebody can destroy your brand. And,
Very
you
true.
need to have that strategy of tackling with those ups and downs every day, every hour, and so on and so forth. Now, that age is now slowly converting into a very personalized kind of a communication.
Yeah.
There's this term called hyper-personalization. Now, with the AI coming into the picture, I think, every customer, every individual will be fed a content which is personalized to him. And that's where the entire game changes. So I guess the transition from a normal TV, a normal print, to now, if you see, it's more of mobile devices, more of OTT platforms. If you ask me, in India, as of today, there are 6.5 crore OTT connections, right? And a lot of live telecast is happening on OTT,
Yeah.
which includes sports and news and so on and
Of
so forth.
course.
So the television, or say for that example, the set-top box is now being converted into OTT.
OTT.
All right.
100%. Yeah.
So you have a smart TV, right, and you have a Fire Stick, and that's it.
True.
I mean, you do not need any other device to consume the information, plus your mobile.
Yeah.
So things have changed radically in terms of how people consume the data or the information, and even the behavior. I think the biggest change that I've seen is the e-commerce development of e-commerce in this
Yeah.
part of the world. I think it is huge.
It is huge.
18 percentage of the sales of the total retail happens from e-commerce
Now
these days, and it's only going to grow.
for any segment you're saying, from
Overall,
FMCG to anything.
overall retail,
Wow.
18 percentage
And I'm
is
sure.
ordered online. So now that's the change in the behavior as well, big time. So a lot of things have changed. I guess even a person like me has to change very rapidly. I mean, has to be up to date with what's
Yeah,
happening. I
yeah.
mean,
And it's true. I mean, it's happening year on year. It's not like कि आज
it's
हुआ.
happening very fast,
Very fast.
very
Very
fast.
fast. Very true.
I'll say 6 months to 6 months.
Then something new comes up.
Yes,
Yeah,
actually,
that's
yeah,
true. And that
yeah.
is why you have to stay updated. I want to ask you here कि जैसे this is like you have given me so many questions in this only.
I know.
But let's start from कि जब आप ये सारी चीजें client के लिए suppose plan करते हैं, because client comes with you to you with a thing कि this is my brand, this is what I want to do, करो आप जो करना है, this is what they think.
Yeah.
So let's start with how do you plan everything from end to end, कि ये client है, इसके लिए मैं एक traditional media करना चाहता हूँ या मैं digital करना चाहता हूँ, तो what is the process for you to design a whole media plan for a client? How does that work then?
See, okay, I will tell you that there is no one formula for a media plan.
Okay.
Right? It all depends upon the brand, the product, and the service, whatever it is. It all depends upon whether it is into the B2B segment or whether it is in the B2C segment. It depends upon the target audiences as well. So, right from the mediums to the communication, everything will differ. So, I guess a media plan is always customized.
Of course.
Overall, even if you are in a B2B today, your digital presence is a must, right?
Of course.
So, most of our strategies, I will tell you, when I started Marshmallow, it was all conventional. Everything was conventional, right? It was like print, it was like outdoor, radio, cinema, maybe a bit of TV, and so on and so forth. I mean, we never went beyond that. Today, when I make a presentation on media planning, I think I have some 25 slides, because there is a huge chunk of the media plan which goes to digital.
Yeah.
Irrespective, the brand is into B2B or B2C. And it is like the must that you have to have, right? Digital presence, whether start with as simple as a website, to your presence on the social media, to your presence on the mobile devices, and so on and so forth, right? It has to be a part of the strategy.
Okay.
Now, I'll just give you a small example that how things have changed and how we have also changed. Initially, we were only a conventional advertising agency.
Okay.
Maybe 7 years before, we realized that, okay, we just cannot be a conventional advertising agency. We also have to get into the digital space.
Right.
Or else somebody will take us over, right? So that's when we also got into the digital communication part of it. Today, the same thing has happened with all the clients. Today, we offer an integrated proposal where there is a conventional part of it and there is a digital part of it. Now, what is going to happen in the future? Gujarat, to be honest with you, is slightly behind in the digital landscape.
I want to get there.
Slightly
Yes,
behind.
yes.
I mean, as compared to the other metros and the bigger cities and all, or the bigger brands and all. Our regional brands or MSMEs are slightly behind, not only in terms of the understanding, but also in terms of the spending, right? At a national level, you'll be surprised. I mean, I'll just give you some figures. 5 years before or 6 years before, the share of print and television was 80% of the total advertising spend.
Okay.
Television and print.
ठीक है.
Digital was around 8%.
ठीक है.
And the remaining 12% was your radio and cinema and outdoor and all.
ठीक है.
The shift in the percentage as of today, I mean, will shock you. 60% digital.
60%.
60% digital, 20% television,
Wow.
10% print, and a mere 4% or whatever divided between radio, outdoor, and cinema, and so on and so forth activation.
Wow.
So you see the power of digital.
Because like you mentioned, personalized touch jo aata hai, I think digital is doing the best for that, right?
It will. I mean, we can talk about AI separately because
Yeah.
that's a huge topic of discussion. But AI is definitely going to change a lot of things.
Of course.
Right. So I think our strategies nowadays include conventional, digital, a lot of activation for that matter. Basically, what we realize while recommending a media plan is that you cannot have something which is, a mass oriented appeal. Either it has to be a cluster specific appeal or an individual specific appeal, which is very important, right? You'll be also surprised to know that how things have changed. Like today, when I say target audiences, right? Now, how do you classify a target audience? That okay, somebody who has like a common psychography, a common demography, and who consumes a common media or whatever it is. Now, the things are changing. That okay, let us target people who are interested in a particular topic.
So true.
It's no longer about psychographics or demographics.
Very true.
Okay, there are X number of people who are interested in Turkey, and then they have cancelled their plan. So there is that set of audience for me.
And it's not about promoting your brand. It's about talking about an idea and subtly putting up your brand.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So things are changing rapidly.
True.
And so is the mix of our media plan.
But एक बार just for the audience, I just want you to bifurcate. जो आपने ट्रेडिशनल और डिजिटल की बात की, तो ट्रेडिशनल में आप कौन से मीडियम्स जनरली कवर करते हो और डिजिटल में आप कौन से मीडियम्स कवर करते हो? मतलब इन टर्म्स ऑफ जैसे आपने रेडियो प्रिंट की बात करी, ट्रेडिशनल में आता है. So just in case people have because me and you are from the industry, but lot of people अगर डिजिटल बात करें तो सिर्फ probably social media, Facebook, Instagram ही समझेंगे.
Right.
So can you just list down क्या क्या होता है?
No, a lot of things are there actually. See, even in conventional, the things have changed. Like there is a lot of BTL activities coming into the picture.
Exactly.
So you have society activation, you have mall activations, you have club activations and all. A lot of things have changed. You have sampling for that matter, which is like basically researching whether your product has appeal or not.
So you plan everything, all of this for clients, depending on their requirement.
We have to. We don't have a choice. Or rather, I mean, it is a must,
of
right?
Course.
So prototype testing is also must. So a lot of things are there in conventional apart from the regular mediums that we have. Digital is like an ocean, right? So I mean, I can start talking about it in terms of the mediums. Of course, you have Meta, where you have Instagram and Facebook, and then if there is a corporate or if there is a B2B kind of a brand, or even FMCG kind of a brand, LinkedIn is very important. I mean, I guess till a very recent point of time, people thought that LinkedIn was more of a recruitment kind of a platform, but I strongly disagree. Yes, it is a recruitment kind of a platform, but at the same time, I think it is more of a brand building platform as well.
I think India may still a lot of people need to understand this.
Yes, and they have not exploited.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, a very simple example that I can give you is my clients. I mean, I don't blame them. कि अमित जो इंस्टा पे है वही लिंक्डइन पे डाल दो, right? Whatever post that you have created for Insta, put it on LinkedIn. And I said, no, I mean, this entire social media platform is different.
Exactly.
that this platform is about you as a top management. It is about the corporate. It is about establishing yourself as the leader or the spokesperson of the industry,
Yeah,
which is very important.
true.
There you have to talk about your expertise. There you have to talk about your analysis, your blogs, your articles. That is the content which is needed in LinkedIn, not my post.
Very true.
So I guess that is one part of it. Then you of course have YouTube, which is a very strong medium. YouTube, I mean, you might discard in the urban areas, saying कि YouTube क्या है, because you have now got OTT and all, तो YouTube लोग कम देखते हैं. But if you look at the rural population, if you look at the semi-urban population, even why the urban population, I mean, the maid in my house or the security guard in my house, they're hooked on to YouTube.
Yeah. Even
All
sir,
the
I believe
time.
urban population is also huge.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But more that, I mean, a lot of lower middle class are
100%.
absolutely hooked on to YouTube,
100%.
right? And that makes that platform, very potent.
I
So,
personally feel sir YouTube is a platform जिसने, like you mentioned कि TV से OTT आया and people started shifting and a
Yeah.
lot of mediums they kept dying, but YouTube is, I think they evolved, जो आपने बोला ना with time, कि उन्होंने खुद के अपने इतने features किए कि it still survived and very gracefully. I mean,
yeah,
because when I worked in MX Player, I used to work in OTT MX Player, तो उसमें our major competition was not any OTT, it was YouTube in terms of viewership, in terms of numbers and
Yeah.
everything, because
sure.
like you mentioned, everyone is watching YouTube. वो
Sure.
And that's one reason कि उन्होंने evolve बहुत किया है. They have changed with time and with features and everything. So
Yeah.
that's there. Like people need to
YouTube
understand.
is a very crucial medium.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of multinationals in FMCG sector or white goods sector have come to a conclusion. I've read a lot of reports. I mean, I love reading research reports and all. They say that the next best thing or the potential is the Indian rural and the semi-urban market.
Of course. And it's a huge
So
audience.
it's not urban market. It's
Yeah.
it's that kind of a market, right? And because of that, mediums like YouTube becomes very important.
Yeah.
That is one part of it. You also have the WhatsApp of this world.
WhatsApp marketing and everything. Yes.
I mean, I guess, and that is one part of it, right? And then you have websites and you have e-commerce websites and all.
Yeah.
But the major role, I think, of reaching out to people is your digital marketing, right? Where you have search engine marketing, where you have social media marketing, where you have Google ads, performance marketing, so on and so forth. That is where you can turn the dices. That is where you can make a brand or kill the brand. As I mentioned, 60% of the share of advertising will go to digital in this year 2025, which means a lot of brands are investing huge amount of money in digital marketing.
So you do the marketing perspective also, from
We do everything.
strategizing to
Everything.
performance
So we
marketing
do
and
media as well.
Okay.
So the creative, the strategy part usually is on a retainer basis, while the media part is on a commission basis.
On a
That's how
commission
it
basis.
works.
But what do you focus more now? Because you mentioned about retainer basis. Because agency में one thing that I've seen is the switch of clients. Like एक client एक के पास आया and then दूसरे के पास shift हुआ. So what do you focus on, retainer or to work on a probably a big brand but on a project basis? How do you?
No, okay, I will answer this question to you. I guess we are blessed to be in both the fields, which is media as well as the creative field. To be honest with you, media is a volume game, right? And we have that volume with us, and that is my bread and butter.
ठीक है.
Right? That secures my life.
ठीक है.
That secures the salary of all my people.
Okay.
Right? Now, getting to the creative part of it. I will talk from a regional perspective. I'll not talk from a national perspective.
ठीक है.
Regionally, the creative retainers that you talk about are not on the higher side. You know, even if you manage to get a 2 lakh retainer, a 3 lakh retainer, that's like considered to be a good amount, a good amount, right? While the national agencies or the MNCs would charge anywhere between 10 lakhs to 20
Yeah,
lakhs
yeah.
to 25 lakhs. Now, you cannot ever get that amount over here in Ahmedabad or in Gujarat for that matter, right? So, the challenge comes to control the cost because I'm not getting that kind of revenue that I want to per client. Now, at the same time, the cost of salary, which is the highest cost, increases day by day. And the salaries are humongous. I mean, they are not like 20, 25,000. I mean, they are much more
Not
beyond that.
anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, half of my staff has a huge fat salary package. Now, that's where the challenge lies. How do you even get to a break even point, right? So, for a company like us, this combination of media and creative works the best.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, media sometimes is fun when you're talking about large scale media planning and stuff like that. But I guess branding and creative is much more fun.
Yeah, of course that.
Much more fun.
I mean, but these two are like, we cannot compare these.
You
I
cannot.
guess.
I mean, they are in a way separate industries altogether. Yeah.
Right, right, right. But tell us about, because like you mentioned, media is your biggest chunk.
Yeah.
I want to know more about that. People would be interested to know how does that work, the media industry where you work in. First of all, ये जो clients के साथ जैसे आप काम करते हो, तो because it's really difficult to convince the idea what you have in your mind and what they have. There's always that clash. So how do you balance that and how do you get clients? How does that work specifically in your media industry?
As far as the media industry is concerned, I think what is more important is the length of the relationship,
हाँ.
which is very important.
Is this
I guess.
good to say, मतलब sorry to interrupt you, कि ये industry relations पे ही ज़्यादा चलती है?
Yes, in a way, I am not saying no. But this entire relationship can break with one single mistake. Now, when I say a mistake, it is very simple. That there's my trusted client, XYZ, who has been doing business with me worth crores of rupees or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And one fine day, I give him an estimate of 100 rupees. And somehow, from wherever, he finds the same estimate of 80 rupees. That moment itself, the client loses the trust in me. Even if I have been doing business with him for years together, just one estimate can kill your relationship.
True.
So it's a very dicey kind of a thing. So in this media business of ours, we I mean from the very beginning have ensured complete transparency. I tell my guys, ki boss, we do not want to cheat the clients. Whatever I am getting out of my commission, which is there in the contract, and whatever I am getting commission from the publications or the other mediums, so whether it is outdoor or radio or whatever, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Right? So tomorrow, even if the client calls that publication or the radio directly and inquires about the rate, he'll get the same rates. Right? And that is where we have been able to, we are a small media agency, I mean, as compared to a few others in Gujarat, but we are very steady. To be honest with you, I mean, we have got 8 biggest conglomerates of India as our clients.
Would you be able to name them? Okay, one of the biggest client of yours.
Adani Group has been with
Wow.
me for ages,
Amazing.
so right from the inception. So yes, that
Amazing.
still continues to be one of my biggest clients.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's all about the transparency that you get into this business of media, right? Which is very, very important. So yes, media, I guess, works on relationship, but then it takes a lot of ethics to continue it for the long
I'm
term.
sure. But
Very
this
important.
must have happened ना, जैसे because I've seen, जैसे आपने बोला कि rates का issue हो, कभी client gets to know, but there are a lot of agencies because a lot of
Yeah.
competition is there, so they must come down to the client कि वो उतना दे रहे हैं, I'll
Yeah.
give you.
Yeah.
How do you handle that situation then?
So, okay, as I mentioned that we are completely transparent in terms of rates. So, I mean, just in case if somebody has offered a lower rate,
Yeah.
we always have a tri-party kind of a con call and say, "कि बस आप बात कर लो. I mean, this is the publication or this is the outdoor media or this is the radio and they have given me this rate.
Right.
If somebody is giving you a lower rate, maybe he is trying to dislodge us with one time lower estimate, which necessarily doesn't mean that he will not cheat you in the future. So yes, there is always I'll say you are always on the edge.
There's always that chance.
You're always on the edge, but I guess somewhere if you have been honest with the client, in such kind of a situation they give you a second chance.
Exactly.
Ki, Amit, I mean, there is an agency which is giving me 80 rupees. Boss, you match this rate.
Very true.
All these 7, 8 conglomerates I'm talking about, the big conglomerates, you'll be surprised to know they have been my clients for almost 20 years now.
And that's a very big thing because आपने जैसे अगर specifically अगर अदानी का भी नाम लिया, because I've worked with them.
Acha, okay.
That's there in my media, of course, because I was
Acha,
in radio,
okay.
MX player and everything. So I've seen this ki they keep switching agencies a lot, like in terms of kabhi creative ya kuch ho to, and they have been working with you since 20 years. That says something.
Yeah.
मतलब that consistency is huge.
Yeah.
So और मतलब very very nice about that. और अगर मैं आपसे इसमें सिर्फ ये पूछूं कि how do you choose? मतलब अब जैसे इंडस्ट्री ग्रो रही है तो there are a lot of clients who wants to have an agency जो शायद 10,000 में 25-15,000 में मेरा काम करके दे दे and something like that. ऐसी बहुत डिमांड रहती है मार्केट में. How do you choose for yourself कि I want to work with this certain client या ये client के साथ मुझे काम करना है. What's your criteria on that?
Okay, first of all, there are, I think, if I'm not wrong, and somebody told me there is no official estimate, but I think there might be around 200 agencies in Ahmedabad. Which would include the freelancers or small time creative hubs and all. Now, see, you have to understand a freelancer is a single person. He really doesn't have any overheads.
Right.
Or even a small creative hub of 5 people, 6 people, they have very less overheads as compared to us, which are like 50 plus employee organization. We have a lot of overheads, right? I cannot compete with a freelancer in terms of the rate. So if somebody is offering 25,000, thank you so much, go ahead, take it. So we have decided a certain barrier that, okay, this is the bottommost rate with which we'll work. Beyond which we'll say no, thank you, but no thank you kind of a thing.
Of course.
Right? Now, as far as the selection of the client is concerned, I'll be very honest with you. I mean, if a client comes to your door, there is hardly any option but to say yes. But yes, I mean, you do some kind of a client rationalization. Now, what is a client rationalization? It depends upon the kind of fees that they are paying, which is very important, right? Plus their credibility in the market,
of course,
in terms of the payment and all, because I mean, you normally inquire with few people how they are in terms of the payment. Do they delay the payment, or do they come up with certain issues in the bill after the bill is raised and all. Plus we also look at the brand equity of the client.
Okay.
So say, for example, if a brand equity of the client is huge, right, I wouldn't mind working at a lesser cost, because that is a marquee client and I want that client on my board.
Of course.
Right? And when I go and pitch myself in front of other clients, I say, this is my client. Right? And I don't mind getting paid less. So there is a client rationalization. Normally, we do not go ahead with a client who is below our benchmark level of retainer fees, and secondly, somebody who has got a very bad payment history.
Yeah, of course.
Apart from that, we normally say
Yeah.
yes.
No, why I ask this is because generally जो हमने बात करी थी ना सस्टेन करना है क्लाइंट को, क्योंकि बहुत बार जो चीज आती है ना कि लाइक यू मेंशन कस्टमर इज द क्लाइंट इज नेवर सेटिस्फाइड. अगर आप मीडिया की बात करोगे तो उन्हें और रेट्स कम चाहिए, अगर आप क्रिएटिविटी की बात करोगे तो उन्हें और कुछ बेटर चाहिए. तो दैट्स लाइक एन एंडलेस लूप दैट हैपेंस. तो वो उस चीज में जो आपने एक रिटेंशन की बात की कि एक क्लाइंट तो वी हैव टेकन ऑन बोर्ड, पर रिटेंशन स्पेसिफिकली बीइंग एन एजेंसी इज even gets more difficult. Does that happen with
Yeah.
you also?
Retention in media is
Yeah.
a different ball game.
Hmm.
Retention in branding and creative services is a different ball game.
ठीक है.
Branding and creative services is very dynamic because it's on a day-to-day basis, right? So you start getting calls from the client from morning, afternoon, evening, and there are certain assignments, there are certain deadlines, and there are certain expectations and all. I always tell my team that, you know, given a client, if you do 99 good jobs, they will not say thank you. But if you do one bad job, and you are out of your contract.
Very true.
So, consistency of performance is the biggest thing.
Very true.
Right. So, I'll say the branding and the creative services is much more complex. It's like you have to be on your toes every point of time. And then there are clients who want services on Sundays as well. ये काम तो करना पड़ेगा. You know, so it's a very delicate situation whether you say bluntly to the client, boss, I don't work on Sundays. Or you say, okay, let me figure it out. If somebody is there available, I'll get it done for you. So, as I mentioned, that retentionship in creative services is slightly more difficult. But in my organization, I think 65% of my clients have been with me for more than 5 years.
That's amazing.
So that's a good ratio.
Yeah, 100%.
That's a good ratio.
100%. That's so true. And आप फिर इनको how do you choose in terms of industry wise also? जैसे बहुत लोगों का होता है ना कि I want to work on FMCG, I want to work on real estate. Do you have something, which industry is booming in terms of they want more advertising towards traditional medium or they want more towards digital medium? तो how do you choose the industry wide work? और इसमें एक चीज ये भी आती है कि अगर आप सपोज एक FMCG के साथ कर रहे हो तो आप दूसरा FMCG के साथ नहीं कर सकते and all of those clashes. So how do you work on that segment?
Okay, so it's a very nice question. See, what we do is we try to work across industries.
Okay.
Right? Not a particular industry. We do not want to be branded as, okay, this guy is really good in real estate.
Because
right?
that's what clients
because that
think.
impacts whenever, say for example, if I go to pitch for a FMCG, they'll say, बस तुमको तो real estate का ज्ञान है, तुमको FMCG का ज्ञान कहाँ है? So I guess since the very beginning, we have concentrated on having clients across industry, whether it is healthcare, whether it is hospitality, education, e-commerce, or real estate, or FMCG, or white goods.
All the segments.
Yeah, we are there in all the segments. And as far as the exclusivity part is concerned, right, it's very simple that we have a contract which says that, okay, this is a non-exclusive agreement. So a non-exclusive agreement comes for 100 rupees. Say for example. Now the client says, nope, I want an exclusive agreement. Yeah. Okay, pay me 200 rupees.
Makes sense.
Right? So that's how it works. And we have got a couple of exclusive agreements. And we don't mind because the client is paying that extra money to us. So that we do not take up a similar client in the industry. But I guess I'm really satisfied with the fact that as Marshmallow, we have worked across industries.
That's
so we are not there. Like one industry specific expert.
But how do you manage internally when it comes to your, like you mentioned, salary is a big part
Ah,
of
huge.
a huge part.
Yeah,
But as you increase client, you need more people with more ideas,
yeah.
and so how do you manage that part internally? Do you keep hiring more people, or how does that work?
See, I guess it is a chicken and egg kind of a situation, right? कौन पहले आया था kind of a thing. But I mean, over a period of time, I think for us, revenue comes first,
Hmm.
right? That if we have enough revenue, only then we hire people, right?
Okay. Hmm.
It's not the other way around that, okay, I will hire people, I'll build a team and then search for the
That's
business.
practical. You spoke about like Gujarat market also.
Yeah.
Ki it's comparatively a bit traditional,
Yeah.
right? So how do you manage? So for example, if a client comes to you and they say कि नहीं मुझे तो print में ही करना है, and but you feel नहीं कि radio या TV पे जाओ, TV is working, or probably OTT पे shift कराना है, तो how do you manage? Because you can't say no, but you know कि this is right for the client.
I mean, such kind of situation, happens with us almost on a daily
Yeah.
basis. Yeah, because Gujarat is the hub of MSME clients,
Hmm.
and MSME clients are normally, handled by proprietors, generations together,
Hmm.
right? And they have a particular mindset, and they are usually that I have come across in this entire journey of experience in the Ahmedabad market is they are more focused on the sales.
Yeah, yeah.
उनको सेल्स के अलावा कुछ दिखता ही नहीं, राइट? बस ये ऐड किया, उसके सामने मेरे रेवेन्यू का इम्पैक्ट क्या
हाँ.
आया?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm like scratching my head. Okay, all right. I mean, so what happens with these clients is, unfortunately, I mean, I'm talking against them, but it's like they keep a dog and bark themselves,
Hmm.
right? So they hire an agency, but
And
they are
then,
expert at everything. I mean, you name it and they know it all, right? I am a very research oriented guy, and I believe research is the key, right? Primary research, not the secondary research. Knowing the consumer, knowing the market, knowing the industry, knowing the competition, and very, very, very important,
of course.
right? I pitch this to a lot of clients. શું જરૂર છે અમિતભાઈ? આપણને બધી ખબર જ છે. That's where like you lose it all. Okay, all right. Now you tell me what you want.
ये तो पता है,
So,
कुछ नया बताओ.
so I mean, many a times, though I brag about, okay, this is how I want to do advertising, and this is something that I will never give up, and I'm going to say no to the client, because eventually you agree to the client demand कि आप बोलो वो कर देंगे.
वो कर देंगे, हाँ.
Now, unfortunate, but then you are into the business of making money. To be honest with you, I mean, I'm being very blunt.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
I'm not an NGO or matlab, I am not doing this for passion or whatever it is. I'm doing this as a business, and for me, profitability is the key. So most often than not, you say, okay, I tried to convince you, I told you what is right for you, but if you think this is not right, and if you want to do it yourself, go ahead.
Go ahead. हाँ, मतलब I think that's a very difficult situation, but then what can be done about it?
Initially, I used to get very angry with this.
हाँ. But now you're used to it.
To be honest with you, I've lost a lot of clients because of this. That, okay, if you do not agree to this strategy, I do not want to work with you.
Okay, let me
That was
ask.
like, young Amitabh Bachchan kind of a thing. गुस्सा क्यों आता है? तो बहुत गुस्सा आता था. Then later on, the wisdom prevailed, and I said, boss, जाने दो.
Let me ask you a question here. अगर एक brand देख रहा है इस समय, what would you say? Why you need an agency for yourself? इसका आप क्या answer दोगे?
Okay, now it's a very important question, especially in this part of the world, because I've seen a lot of clients having their in-house studios.
Yeah.
A lot of them. Now, the problem with the in-house studios is that yes, you get creative guys. You might get a copywriter, you might get a content writer, or you might get a social media content creator, or whosoever. But those are the guys. Now, this is my understanding. Those are the guys who have not really got into any kind of advertising agencies and still looking out for jobs, right?
True.
And hence, somewhere they compromise and get into one brand. See, a creative brain can never be a one brand kind of a commitment because it easily burns out. Day in and day out, I only work for one brand, I will burn out, right? And it gets boring some part of time. Secondly, as I mentioned, that their expertise is also questionable. So their output is questionable. Secondly, all these guys do not know what research is, do not know what insights are, do not know what strategy is, do not know what planning is, right? Do not usually, even after being with the client or the brand for a long period of time, know who the target audience is. So that is where they fail. I will not name the client, but there was a client for whom we were doing the digital communication for almost 3 years. And one fine day he says, "Boss, we have decided we will have, an in-house team."
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing to argue and just accept that, okay, fine. Relationship closes. 6 months later, those guys again called me, "Amit, can you be on board?" I said, "What happened to your team?" They're bullshit. A lot of them think that by creating an agency within the organization, they'll be able to replace an agency. They can never replace the agency.
Lot of clients, matlab, new. I'll ask you here because lot of new coming startups and if they think about doing this only कि मैं एक बंदा hire कर
A
लेता
lot
and
of
they'll do
them.
everything from
A lot
media
of them.
to the digital part. But what would you say, again I'm throwing a question on you, what would you say to a person जो marketing में believe ही नहीं करता, because there are a lot of people I have personally met बोलते हैं कि यार मेरा word to word चल रहा है, जो जिसने देखा they use the product and ये marketing वगैरह में अभी बजट नहीं है, तो आप उनके लिए फिर क्या बोलोगे, why marketing is important? A very basic question but a very important.
Where marketing is not important, or rather you can do away with marketing, is the small businesses, right? So say for example, word of mouth, which you said, a very important kind of thing. So somebody who is making a gourmet item, or somebody who is making exclusive cheese, or maybe cakes or pastries or whatever, right, they do not really require marketing. It's normally word of mouth from one place to the other, to the other, to the other. I agree. I mean, somewhere they also might not have budget for the marketing, right? But when it comes to a brand, even if it is a regional brand, you have to invest money in marketing and in communications. You do not have a choice. And this is a very interesting question because a lot of these regional brands that we have, right, have never been able to surpass the borders of Gujarat. Why so? It's not only the lack of vision, but also the lack of investment in marketing and advertising.
So they're happy with जो भी चल रहा है.
Maybe they are happy, but then whosoever I've met, like these guys, I mean, who are regional clients, say for example, a namkeen brand, right? A very regional kind of client. They have compared themselves with Haldirams. वो देखो हल्दीराम क्या बना रहा है, अरे भाई हल्दीराम कितना खर्चा कर रहा है, तुम क्या कर रहे हो? There's this soft drink brand which compares itself, it's a regional brand which compares itself with Coke.
But then they are not spending like Coke.
They are not spending. So somewhere I think a monopolistic kind of a situation, barring a very few brands, uh, is not there in India any longer,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
There is some amount or a greater amount of competition in anything that you're making,
Of course.
anything.
Of course.
So that is where you need to differentiate yourself. You need to, communicate your message to the right kind of audiences, that okay, this is who I am and I am different from the others.
Hmm.
So communication somewhere is a must. You won't be able to do away with it. Even this small, I think, entrepreneurs, they also have that Insta profiles.
Yeah. Yeah.
They also do a lot of reels and all. So somewhere communication is required. You cannot do away with it. Um, there might be a couple of B2B brands who have never really invested in communication.
Hmm.
I do agree.
Sooner or later, I think. But do you think, sir, is there any percentage, matlab, if I ask you on a broader term, कि अगर suppose आपका इतना revenue है, तो at least this certain percentage, at least you should put on advertising, maybe
See,
for media, maybe for social media, anything.
yeah, it depends upon the product life cycle,
Okay.
right? So when I say a product life cycle, it's like the launch,
Hmm.
then the acceptance, then the growth, then it plateaus,
Hmm.
and maybe after many years it declines. Right? That's how it is. Maybe not a bell curve kind of a thing, but almost like that, right? So depending upon the life cycle of the brand, I guess if it is a launch, right, there is no standard benchmark for it, but from what my experience says, that 2 to 3% of your sales
Hmm.
should be the budget for communication.
Okay. 2 to 3%.
2 to 3%.
Okay.
So 100 rupees of sales, you put 3 rupees
For
into
marketing.
communication. As the brand grows, this percentage can decrease and should decrease, because
Hmm.
then what you expect is that your brand is having more and more acceptance in the market. But there might be a situation where the brand is not, really
Yeah.
accepted in the market. So there are couple of ways. Either you pull out and say, I'm done, right? Or you reposition that particular product in the
Hmm.
market. So usually, as a owner, without using a much of brains, I would put 2 to 3%. But that also is not acceptable to a lot of people.
And that depends, I
Right.
think, client to client also.
Yeah,
But
it is not
yeah,
acceptable to a lot of people.
yeah, yeah.
But I will say the best way to earmark a budget for advertising would be depending upon the objectives of the communication.
Okay.
So if it is awareness, for that matter, I'll say, okay, today I am at a 0% of awareness. I'm launching my product. I want to reach to 50% of awareness within my target audience within next 6 months or 1 year. I have to invest money.
But a very interesting question comes कि आप what do you suggest कि जैसे होता है ना generally brand season time promotion करते हैं then they are lost, वो गायब हो जाते हैं, and there are certain brands जो over the year promotion करते
Yeah.
हैं. तो what makes more sense to you, if like for your clients, what do you suggest, and what is more of a senseful advertising technique that a person should focus on?
See, for most of the brands, especially the B2C brands and the FMCG brands, or the white goods, or so on and so forth, I guess it's a combination of both,
ठीक है.
right? You cannot be out of sight of the
Exactly.
consumer.
That's very important. Yeah.
You cannot be. Now, a lot of people, tell me, कि why should Coke advertise? Everybody knows Coke. उसको क्या जरूरत है, I mean, हर एक IPL में ऐड करने का? Why they blow off money? See, for me, I think that the reinforcement of the brand is a very important thing.
Very important.
That when I go to a particular restaurant, or whatever, bar or a pub or a cafe or whatever, hotel, the Coke has to be at the top of my mind.
Hmm.
And to keep that at the top of my mind, I have to keep on communicating. Now, as I said, it's a mix of both. I mean, 365 days kind of a communication. Of course, there might be lean periods depending upon the brand and the product. Barring that, say for example, when I say lean, so
Hmm.
you have air conditioner.
Of course,
So,
those are seasonal, yes.
there is a lean period where, say for example, winter is very severe in north. Now, even if you give them offers, a lot of people will not buy ACs in the
Hmm.
winter. So that's kind of a lean period. But if you see all these e-commerce giants, right, whether it is Amazon, Flipkart, or whosoever, the biggest chunk of sales comes during 15th of August,
Hmm.
26th of January, Diwali, Christmas,
Hmm.
right? Those are the seasonal time where people look forward to
Yeah.
buy discounted products, right? India is like obsessed with discount. The Indian ladies are obsessed with bargaining. Right? Nothing wrong in it. I mean, it's fine. I mean, so that is where you see a spike in your sales, but that doesn't mean that I completely go out of touch
Huh.
in the remaining period. So you also have to continue your communication
Yeah.
during that point of time.
Matlab it's more like
I mean, even for that matter, a lot of people use this Mahakumbh as a huge opportunity to sell their products.
of course, big time.
Huge, big time.
I think it's all about opportunities, but you rightly said, sir, emotional marketing, impulse buying, ये सब इंडिया में तो स्पेसिफिकली बहुत मतलब आई थिंक इट्स अ थिंग और उसमें जो आप मेंशन कर रहे हो कि एक ओवरऑल प्रेजेंस तो तुम्हें रखनी चाहिए बट ड्यूरिंग ऑफ कोर्स व्हेन इट्स सीजन इट बम्बार्ड्स इट्स
Yeah,
एज सिंपल एज दैट
yeah.
या बट अब व्हाट डू यू थिंक अगर एक मैं आपको बोलूँ एक प्रोडक्ट एक कोई भी सक्सेसफुल बिजनेस अगर चलता है तो वो प्रोडक्ट की वजह से चलता है या एडवर्टाइजिंग और जैसे उसने अपने आप को प्लेस किया उस वजह से चलता है
I strongly believe that if the product is bad,
हाँ
even David Ogilvy cannot sell it.
ट्रू
It is as plain and
कभी
simple.
ना कभी डाउनफॉल आएगा ही
As an agency, I can ask you once to purchase a certain thing. You are excited, you purchase. But if the product is bad, not only you will stop using it, but you will tell 50 other people not to buy this.
ऑफ
Right?
कोर्स हाँ
I always have this very classic example of ambassador, right? Ambassador, of course, one point of time was the only car available, so it worked, and more so, it had the government contract and the defense contract, so it worked. But the moment you had 1990 when the liberalization was announced and Maruti Suzuki came into the picture, right? It started getting competition and people started having choice, right? And the moment they started having choice over a period of time, they said we do not want this because we don't like the product. Now ambassador can hire the best of the agency of the world, but he will not be able to sell it. So I personally believe advertising only works if the product is good,
yeah
product is meaningful, it gives certain benefits to the consumers or the customers. It has some kind of a emotional value or a snob value or a status value for that matter, without which it will not work.
हाँ दैट मेक सेंस एंड कोविड के बाद आप देख रहे हो कुछ लाइक इज देयर एनी शिफ्ट इन टर्म्स ऑफ
Huge,
एडवर्टाइजिंग
huge,
या
huge. I guess it's about the advertising has changed because the consumer behavior has changed. Now, if you look at post-COVID, you have e-commerce platforms. You have now quick commerce platforms, which have like risen in last 1 year or so. You have OTT, which was like a result of
Yeah.
this, right? Uh, You have health and hygiene products which are now much more in demand. You have wellness products which are much more in demand, right? A lot of things have changed from a consumer behavior perspective,
Hmm.
right? I mentioned before, or I don't know, e-commerce constitutes to 18% of the overall retail,
Hmm.
right? And that is a huge amount. And imagine if e-commerce gets into the rural areas,
Ah,
how big that chunk would be,
yeah.
right? Things have changed very rapidly, and then I guess post COVID, the advent of AI in the recent times, it's a path breaker.
Yeah. Why do you think so?
I still remember when Google came into the picture, it was like you wondered where Google gets its information from. And you were so relieved because whatever I wanted to know, I'll get that. Right? Now, Google search is being replaced by AI.
Hmm.
So, ChatGPT, that was one of the first AI platforms.
Hmm.
And now you have, like AI apps for everything.
Of course.
In relation to advertising industry, there are apps for logo creation. There
For
are apps.
everything, yeah.
There are apps for creating positioning lines, brand mission and vision. There are apps for content creation, copy. There are apps for campaign creation, voiceover, making 2D animated films. What have you?
Hmm.
Everything is there. Matter of minutes. I mean, you can make complex presentation in matter of minutes with the prompts.
But do you think, I mean, that will affect on you being as an advertising agency? Like, because everybody can do everything on their
Big
own,
time.
right?
Big time.
Big time?
Yeah.
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 This is the first
So
time somebody has accepted it, honestly. Otherwise, सब बोलते कि अरे नहीं वो एक manual human feelings कौन कोई कैसे लेके आ पाएगा and all of that. That's the
see, even
usual answer.
AI, I mean, is smart, right? There's something called hyper-personalization, which is
You
happening,
mentioned, yeah,
right?
yeah.
There's something called hyper-localization, which is happening. The AI apps are coming in Indian languages. So somebody sitting in UP will be able to use AI.
Yeah.
You know, somebody who only knows Bhojpuri will be able to use AI, right? Things are rapidly changing. See, from an output perspective, I guess agencies will have a major threat because everything is available at fingertips,
Okay.
right? So if a client comes to me and says, "Okay, boss, I need a logo for this," client already has 20 logos with him.
Ah.
However ingenious I am, maybe somewhere, you know, I have to face that competition with those 20 logos which he has already downloaded, right? And that, covers everything that we do.
But how do you plan to go about it?
So, I guess just you're right when you said that the human intelligence is going to be more important, right? When I say human intelligence, that AI will crawl through or browse through the secondary data. Right? AI will not have the primary data. When I say the primary data is the on ground data of the market or the consumers or the competition. That is something that an individual has to go out and find out, especially the consumer behavior, especially. Right? That is where the agency's expertise will lie to find this out, to analyze, come up with brand strategy and the plans. Right? That is where agency will have a lot of role. I mean, I was reading somewhere AI will also do your planning, AI will do your execution,
Ah.
AI will do your measurement. तो हमको करना क्या है? Right? So I believe that this is going to be a huge revolution in the industry. Even I have started taking AI online courses.
Yeah.
So
Oh, nice.
you have to. I
Of
mean, you
course.
don't have a choice.
Huh.
So things, I mean, though I cannot really predict, but I guess the intelligent quotient of an advertising professional is something which will survive. Everything else will go away.
And I think that you said it right, that will take a long time to go away. The intelligent quotient will stay for long, I think.
Has to, I mean, because somewhere in future, I think advertising will convert itself into more of consulting, more of advisory
Yeah.
kind of a service, rather than an output kind of a
very true,
service.
very true. So tell me, sir, आपके ऐसे कोई one of the best campaign that actually is very close to your heart. So give me one example.
A lot of them, but I guess I will not say a campaign. There was this one ad
Okay.
which is very dear to me, and we also won a couple of national awards for that.
Okay.
It was for my client Bakeri. Bakeri is a real estate company, here, very reputed, and they have been dealing in white.
In white.
Yeah, in white.
Okay.
Since 1959. So you go to Bakeri, even before demonetization, they only accepted check.
Wow.
There was no cash transaction. Right? So November 2016, हमारे प्यारे प्रधानमंत्री आए टीवी पे, and he said कि okay, demonetization is going to happen. So second day, I mean, we were at the agency and we started, brainstorming that here is a client which has not accepted cash till date. So can we do something? So we came up with an ad. There was a headline with very small fonts, maybe 9 points or something like that. We said the color of our money has been white since 1959.
Oh wow.
And the entire ad was white. Nothing else. There was nothing in the ad, just white background. And at the bottom, a small logo of Bagheera. It was on the front page of Times of India on the second day of the announcement. And I still remember the number of calls that I got. I go, boss, this is brilliant.
This is brilliant, exactly. Yeah.
So
Wow.
that one ad is very close to me.
And you went yourself and you pitched that this is happening.
Yeah, it was like within matter of hours, because we had to think very quickly. It was more topical, so it had a time value attached to it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. And अगर मैं उल्टा पूछूं, अगर कोई एक funniest feedback that you remember that you got for any of your campaign, anything like?
No, we get this funny feedback almost every day. मजा
Story
ना
of an agency.
मजा ना आई. It's like I ask my client servicing team के what is the feedback from the client. साहब ये कहते मजा ना आई. I scratch my head as to boss मजा ना आई. એટલે what do I do? So somewhere I intervene कि boss, I mean, elaborate.
Brief दो आगे क्या है?
Tell me that what did you not like in this? अमित भाई खबर नहीं पण मजा ना आई. And I mean, seriously, you don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
And this is so very common.
I think every agency will relate to this.
Yes, absolutely. And I guess it doesn't really happen in Bombay or Bangalore or Delhi, because I think I'm not criticizing the clients over here, because there is a certain kind of a culture over here. But in Bombay or wherever I have worked before, I've worked in Bombay for almost 12 years. So there, at least, or even internationally, I mean, I have worked with a lot of American companies, European companies. They give you very detailed feedback as to why they did not like it. Right? That, okay, Amit, great, thank you, you have done a wonderful effort, but these are the observations and maybe you can improve upon that. So you were very clear, okay, my next step is to do this. અહીંયા તો તમને ખબર જ ના પડે. It's like અમારે ગુજરાતીમાં કહે ને નવી ગિલ્લી નવો દાવ. એટલે it's like, yeah.
Yeah. But why don't you? You're right now focusing on Gujarat clients only, right?
No,
No?
we have clients from Kolkata, Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So how does it differentiate? Tell me, matlab, when you compare different markets you're working on and they are like completely different people and आपके I'm sure काफी local brands भी होंगे Bombay के अलग. So how do you how would you
I
compare
guess
these cities and these states?
Bombay and Bangalore are very professional,
Okay.
very professional. They understand advertising.
Hmm.
Yeah, the clients understand advertising. They give you a proper feedback and timely payments and everything is perfect. They brief you very well, right?
Hmm.
I mean, they have elaborate briefing. Kolkata is exactly like Ahmedabad.
Acha.
Exactly
Oh.
like Ahmedabad. Majana a kind of
But
thing.
a bit traditional also.
Delhi is like, professional but not professional, hanging in between.
Acha.
And yes, I mean, different markets of Ahmedabad behave differently.
Hmm.
But I think to be honest with you, I love working with clients from Bombay and Bangalore.
From Bombay and Bangalore. Like the more corporate structure and
Yeah.
where you know what you're doing and क्या मजा
It's
आया
it's
क्या मजा
it's
नहीं
it's
आया.
it's very professional
Very
to
professional. हाँ.
deal with them.
Hmm. Yeah. तो आप जब ऐसे कोई प्लान करते हो सर whenever I'm just very interested to know your how you work. आप जब कोई भी कैंपेन प्लान करते हो तो there is this one thing जो आपने एक होता है कि you research everything, there is this data and everything that you focus on और दूसरा होता है you focus on your instincts कि यार इस जैसे आपने अभी बकेरी का एग्जांपल दिया कि let's do this is supposed to happen, this is because current status this. तो आप what do you prefer more generally while curating a campaign ki data is important or your instinct is important? What is your strategy?
I have, I mean, I might be a old school,
Okay.
but I think the data,
Okay.
research, the insights are the most crucial,
Okay.
inputs that you can have in any of the campaign. If you study the US advertising market, 30 to 40 percentage of their spend, the advertising spend, goes into research.
Into research.
Into research. And I have been brought up in a very similar manner, right? And I think research is the king, the queen, or whatever you want to say. And without research, you are just shooting in the dark. Yes, my instinct can work sometimes, but not every time. It is
Makes
not a
sense.
sure shot kind of a thing. So I would rather rely on data, the insights, and develop my strategy and my central creative idea and the creatives accordingly. Right? Um, I'll give you a very small example. Like we have a masala client. I mean, the basic masalas that you have. So you have chili, turmeric, cumin, and all. In Gujarat, they have this season जहाँ पे मसाला भरते हैं पूरे साल के
भरवानु
लिए.
season. हाँ जी,
हाँ,
हाँ
भरवानी
जी.
सीजन कहवाए. So, I mean, we went there for a brief in the month of December कि हमें भाई campaign बनाना है. And they were like, the consultant was there and the owner was there and the marketing head was there and all. Amit bhai, we have to concentrate on our key competition. This brand, that brand, Ramdev, Kitchen Express, Vasant, Spyron, or whosoever, right? I said, okay, wait, let's not, reach to a conclusion. Let's not go by the instinct. Let me do some kind of a research and get back to it. What we found out from the research was कि masala varwani season ma, right, the biggest percentage of the market share is from the unorganized market. It is not from the branded market. So somewhere then we debated and came to a conclusion that rather than targeting my primary competition, there is a secondary competition
Which is huge.
huge, the quality is not as good, or rather compromised, right? Why should I not target them?
Of course.
Educating my newer customers who have been using this, saying, "Like, boss, don't use this, use my product." So the conversion probability is more over here rather than fighting with the already established brands.
Right.
So, small insights can help you really, come up with brilliant campaigns. And today, that campaign is in the third year of running, and we communicate the same thing year on year on year.
Wow. And that works.
It works.
That's very important.
Yeah.
And that's where you also have to educate the client also कि no, let's move towards, from a traditional mindset कि जो हम कर रहे हैं से
Yeah.
something like that's very important for an agency. But एक चीज सर जो मैं अगर बहुत common question पूछूं, अगर हम advertising world से हैं तो जो हम आपने जैसे shift की बात करी कि 60% अब digital पे shift है, right? तो मतलब a very जो common question होता है, do you think traditional medium is dying or is it going to stay? What would you say on that?
Okay, as long as I think our generation or the generation Y, for that matter, right, is there, that medium will stay.
Will stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Gen Z, Gen Alpha, I don't think so. Right?
People are shifting.
They have been, brought in a such a manner that they are only used with mobiles and the OTTs. Right? They do not even touch the newspaper, or they do not even, open the Tata Sky or whatever. It's only mobile most of the times. Laptop, OTT. Even the OTT is on the laptop mainly.
Very true.
Right? So whether it is consumption of the news, or whether it is consumption of the entertainment or shopping or whatever it is, everything is in a device.
Yeah.
So yes, things will change. I mean, it will follow the US pattern. So if you go to US, right, in last 10 years of my recollection, I have not seen a single house in US which orders newspaper.
Which orders newspaper? Oh.
No. So things will change, but I think it will take some time.
Still takes some time, but I think people should be prepared about it.
They have to. As I said, boss, I am now taking AI, course online. So you have to evolve with the changing technology, the trends and all.
Yeah, and I'm very happy, sir. आपने बहुत honest answers दिए. पता है मतलब generally because these questions, because I'm in the industry, बहुत जो brands कभी मेरे से पूछते हैं तो ये पूछते हैं कि यार रेडियो में करूँ या प्रिंट में करूँ या नहीं करूँ, तो वही होता है कि हाँ एक बहुत ही ना इधर का आंसर ना उधर का आंसर इज मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल आर गिविंग लाइक आपने भी ऑनेस्टली बोला कि थिंग्स विल चेंज या people will move towards digital and whatever. So this is the first time somebody media में से honestly or in front of a camera has said that, so that's amazing. एक अगर last question because 27 years आपके हो गए हैं sir. One thing that you want to say to person and specifically in advertising agency कि this is first of all मैं actually दो question पूछती हूँ, मेरे को पूछते हुए है कि अगर आप कोई एक myth burst करोगे advertising agency को लेके तो आप क्या बोलोगे and one thing that you want to say to a person कि जो success होता है ना advertising में कैसे पाना है, so what would you say on that, both the questions?
Myth, I think I have always fought with the client.
Okay.
Or rather debated or argued. One common feedback is कि, the copy cannot be long. The body copy, who reads it? Nobody reads body copy.
So true.
And I get so irritated with that kind of a feedback. Hell, man, to be honest with you, no, it is not true. It depends upon the brand, it depends upon the product category. If the product category is very evolved, or it is like a daily use kind of a thing, or it is not very expensive, it is an impulse purchase, then I do agree that the copy is not required, right? So it's okay. But there are so many other products and services which are slightly technical, or which are slightly difficult to understand, and you have to support that with the body copy,
Yeah, of course.
right? I will give you an example of hospital, right? I have one of the largest hospitals of Gujarat as my client right from the inception.
Hmm.
Now, say for example, if I ask you what is an interventional cardiologist,
Okay.
do you know that?
I don't know that. I
Now,
was
if
like,
I
don't
put
ask
that,
me.
if I put that in my ad,
Ah,
that we have the best interventional cardiologists in Gujarat,
nobody will know.
from a client perspective, brilliant, was क्या ad बनाया? From a reader's perspective, what are you trying to say? I don't know, right? So there I have to explain who this person
Yeah.
is, right? A lot of things, like, I mean, I have seen a lot of ads of these consulting firms, right? Deloitte, PwC, Ernst and Young, in your Harvard Business Reviews of the world. You'll not believe each ad has at least 200 words copy.
Hmm.
200 words copy. Why?
That's something
Why
to
why
think
why
about.
don't they believe that boss nobody reads the copy?
And apparently, these are the biggest research.
Because a person who is going to hire Deloitte is a voracious reader.
Very
Within a
true.
span of eye coverage, he can read everything, and he needs to read to basically come to a conclusion that okay, this is one of the best consulting companies,
Hmm.
right? Now I can't have a Deloitte ad with one headline and nice photograph and okay, it's done, because nobody reads the copy. So I guess it is more contextual.
Yeah.
So that is one myth that I will never agree with anybody.
And I just want to add on this कि this is very true because आज जो एक परसेप्शन आता है वो कि मिनिमल चाहिए, मुझे मिनिमल चाहिए, और उसमें ऐसा होता है कि एक लाइन लिख दी, अब वो जो आपने बोला सामने वाला समझता रहे उसे, एंड दैट इज द इंट्रीगिंग पार्ट कि वो ऐसा क्या था जो समझ नहीं आया, तो चलो लेट्स गेट इनटू इट. बट दैट्स ट्रू. बहुत अगर सपोज 50% वो लोग देखने जाते हैं कि व्हाट इट इज, तो 50% ड्रॉप भी कर देते हैं कि पता नहीं क्या है, चलो लेट्स मूव ऑन टू
See,
नेक्स्ट.
you have to understand. I always tell my client that who reads your ad, right? Or who sees your ad and takes some kind of an action, right? From the ad, you require some kind of an action. It
Of
can be
course,
anything,
of
but
course.
you are expecting some kind
CTA.
of a response,
Yeah.
right? Not necessary sales, but some kind of a response. Now, who will give that response? It is a matter of common sense that somebody who's looking for that product category or a service category only will read that ad.
जिसको रिक्वायरमेंट है.
If I need a car within a range of 10 to 20 lakhs, I will definitely be interested in every ad of a car that comes.
Of course.
And I'll read it. If I'm looking for a 3 BHK, I'll be interested in every ad of a 3 BHK. But if I'm not interested, boss, I'm not going through the details.
Yeah.
So it is once again, very contextual that who reads that. And if somebody is interested, he will read the copy. He'll read the copy. That's my take.
I somehow that makes sense. Yeah. And what about the other question? Like,
okay, how to be successful? I guess I will address this from the youngsters' perspective, because things have changed and people start calling me dude instead of sir. So that's the kind of change which has been brought about in the industry. I think my our agency's name Marshmallow itself is the answer. We named Marshmallow because of a connection. Yes, of course, there is a confectionery, and I like marshmallow. But the real reason of naming this agency Marshmallow was Stanford conducted a marshmallow experiment in 1960. And it was very simple that there were certain kids of maybe 7 to 8 years or whatever. They were gathered and everybody was given a marshmallow,
Okay.
right, in front of them. And they were said that, okay, the top 3 who eats the marshmallow the last will get another marshmallow,
Okay.
right? So the clock starts ticking and there's few kids who cannot resist, and I don't care, I want this marshmallow. And there were like 3 kids who waited and waited. Now the study drew a parallel that the kids who ate the marshmallow, right, very fast,
Were
right?
very fast.
Yeah,
Who ate it very
yeah,
fast, huh?
without waiting,
Huh.
they were unlikely to become great leaders
Okay.
or successful people. But the 3 kids who waited and waited, they were likely to become better leaders and
Okay.
successful person. Now, when it comes to this new generation, one thing that I observe is gratification.
Hmm.
They need instant gratification for everything. They cannot wait.
Yeah.
Whether it is a challenging work, whether it is a great environment of the office, whether it is my salary check, or whether it is my position, boss, ताबड़तोड़ मिलना चाहिए. I don't have patience. I guess my message to all these youngsters is have patience. You're right. You cannot be jumping around because somebody is offering you a better salary or a better position, or just because one assignment in this agency is something that you didn't like or was maza nahi aa raha hai.
Yeah.
Have patience, and that is where somewhere you will reap the rewards in the future. So
And ये generation के लिए तो specific है, जो coming generation
very
है,
important.
very important. Even I personally say that कि I have been seeing ये generation ऐसे switch होती है, even in the salary, even in the work and everything. They
Yeah.
want, if they're happy, they will, otherwise they'll just
उनको
move on.
patience है ही नहीं.
Patience है ही नहीं.
I will
think
not
that's
say
very
loyalty. I
important.
will not. I mean, basically use the word loyalty, but it's about sticking around with a certain
Agreed.
status quo for some time.
Agreed, 100% agreed.
Yeah.
Wow, wonderful sir. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. I mean, super amazing. मतलब मैंने सोचा था इसे इंटेलेक्ट और उसमें जाएगा, but this was so ऐसे ऑनेस्ट जो मैं बोल ही रही हूँ कब से, एंड वेरी इंफॉर्मेटिव. मतलब एडवर्टाइजिंग का एक जो नया परसेप्शन और जो एक्चुअल प्रैक्टिकलिटी क्या है एडवर्टाइजिंग में, क्या जरूरी है और क्या चल रहा है एक्चुअली, दैट यू हैव shown us the mirror. So thank you so much for.
So Prashant was asking me whether I have made notes and all. I said it's all here.
You don't need that for sure. Yeah, but thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.